doesn't ride horses on an everyday basis, I think my journey proved to be satisfying yet a little bit stressful. So I think I need to celebrate with some Flying Fish right here. That is a very, very good beer. And with New Jersey being home to many microbreweries, Flying Fish is definitely one that everybody should try, at least once. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And while I finish my lunch here at the Chapter House in Howell, New Jersey, I want you to take a tour with me at the Flying Fish Brewery in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
President and head janitor of Flying Fish Brewing here in beautiful Cherry Hill, New Jersey. We've been around for 9 years now. About 11 years ago, I had the idea to start the brewery, and I was a home brewer, and my idea was to, I was a writer working in advertising, to get out of advertising and become a brewer. The reason we came up with the name is I've lived in South Jersey my whole life, and I just didn't think the world was waiting for South Jersey beer. It doesn't have that cachet. So just looking for something a little different. I mean, New Jersey's almost surrounded by water, so we were thinking of water and just different ideas, and kind of came up with Flying Fish. It was fun, it was different, and we wanted to do a logo that was a little different and kind of stood out, so it wasn't your traditional, you know, sheaves of barley and hop cones and things like that. Just, you know, have fun with it, kind of get people's, you know, attention on the shelf and see and say, gee, that looks a little different, what is that, and try it, and then, you know, once they try the beer, then they're sold on it. Something interesting about Flying Fish is that we were the world's first virtual microbrewery. The web was starting to happen, and back then, you went to Google, didn't even exist. You went to Yahoo and typed in brewery or beer, you'd get about 15 hits. Now you probably get like 15 million. I created a website, and it was kind of, you know, this old house meets the World Wide Web. Just kind of a way to get attention and, you know, let people know about Flying Fish. So we were selling T-shirts and pint glasses to people around the world. Flying Fish does 4 year-round beers, and we do a range of seasonals. We have our Oktoberfish, which is a German fest style. We call it a fish style. It's great amber. It's kind of different from all our other beers, and it uses all imported German hops, malt, and yeast. So this is pretty much gone from the market. We have our Grand Cru Winter Reserve, which is a Belgian-style strong golden ale. We were one of the first breweries in the country to do a lot of Belgian-style beers. Now, everybody kind of does them. That's a great thing. I mean, Belgium's kind of the Disneyland of beers. Flying Fish is kind of one of the smaller distributions. So we're New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, and a little bit of Maryland and D.C. But, you know, pretty much everything is within 100 miles of the brewery itself. Every Saturday, pretty much, it's popular price, free. It's a free tour, a free tasting if you're over 21. You get to come in, you learn the whole process. A lot of times our brewers are here doing the tours, so you get a really in-depth explanation of the whole process. And then we'll go through a sampling of 4 of our different beers to try those. So right now we're standing in the brew house of Flying Fish, and this is kind of where it all begins. The difference with a craft brew like ours and some of the bigger brews is that we only use 4 ingredients in our beer. We use barley, we use hops, we use water, and we use yeast. And despite some of the advertising claims by some of the big brewers, water is really the least important ingredient in beer. Yeast is the most important. Right here, what we're doing is, in this brew house, you have what's called a mash tun. And here's where we put our barley. We mix it with hot water. And the hot water activates enzymes that are in the barley. Those enzymes convert the starches in the barley to sugars, and that's what we brew with. So it takes about an hour to convert that over. We then rinse that barley with hot water and pump it over to the brew kettle. After we're done mashing, it looks just like oatmeal or cereal. We actually give this to a local farmer. Sometimes we give it to dairy farmers. Sometimes we give it to pig farmers as animal feed. Here's where we add hops, and hops are like the spice of beer. You use them for bitterness, you use them for flavor, you use them for aroma, and they're also a natural preservative. We use a lot of different kinds of hops. If you put the hop in the boil early, you get more bitterness. If you put it at the very end, you get more aroma. And just like different spices, you determine what kind of hop, if you want something with a citrusy character or a piney character or a fruity character, you can get those from the hop. We then, after we boil it for an hour and a half, we cool it down and we pump it over into the fermenting tanks. Here's where the beer gets fermented. We have different sizes. We have 60 barrels, we have 40 barrels.
And what we'll do is take the yeast from one batch and put it into, pitch it in the next batch, and it'll start the fermentation process. It'll take about 8 hours for the yeast to reproduce enough to start consuming the sugars that we got from the barley. The yeast takes those sugars and it does a couple of things. It gives off flavor, it gives off alcohol, and it gives off CO2. This bubbling is actually CO2 being bubbled out of the top of the tank. After about 3 days, we'll actually seal this up and we capture the CO2 and naturally carbonate the beer. Yeast is a living organism and it will adapt to its environment. So we use the same yeast strain so it gives us consistency in our beers from batch to batch to batch. So after 2 weeks, we're ready to filter the beer. So we run it through a 2-stage filter here. Right now we're just cleaning the filter, getting it sanitized to run beer through it. But it takes pretty much 99.9% of the yeast. We then run the beer through the filter, run it into what's called a bright tank. Filtered beer is called bright because you can see through it. We have 3 bright tanks, and what we'll do is filter into them, check the carbonation, and then we'll either bottle it or keg it. What we're looking at now is the bottling line, and this costs almost as much as everything else in the building put together. It was built for us, custom in Germany, and it's not the Mercedes of bottling lines, but I would say it's the BMW. We're looking at over $250,000 right here, and it gives us really good quality in the bottle, which is important. What we're looking at are the bottles come in, work their way down the filler. That first item where it inverts them, it rinses, puts the sanitizer through them to sanitize them, rinses them out. We fill them up. They come through, get rinsed off. They go to the labeler. And then the guys hand pack them into the cases, and then they run them through and tape them up. Bottling is hard work. It's a little noisy here. The guys have ear protectors. But, you know, everybody wants beer in the bottle, so that we do that. What we're going to sample now is our Grand Cru Winter Reserve. It just came out, and I'm pouring small samples, not because I'm being stingy, but because it's 8% alcohol, so you've got to enjoy this in moderation. What's unique about this beer, it's based on a Belgian golden ale, so it's a little fuller tasting, as I said, a little higher in alcohol. In Belgium, they make these beers and they give them, the way you can tell is that they use devil names like Duvel or Lucifer or things like that. And what's interesting is they don't really taste that strong until you've had one or two and then you stand up and you realize. So, but it's a great winter beer. It's great with heartier food, cheeses, meats, things like that. We really design all our beers to complement food. So anyway, this is has a nice crisp flavor, a little bit of a malt sweetness to it, and we use a sour mash process, which doesn't make the beer sour. It just lowers the pH just enough to give it a real kind of quenching character to it. So it's almost gives you that thirst quenching character that you want to have another sip, which we like too. So
let's give it a shot.
Enjoy.
Cheers. Very nice. Well, Gene, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. And once again, thanks for joining us here on New Jersey Rocks. We hope to see you on our next episode. Take care.